And I wanted to start by one of the top questions we've always had. Hey, I'm looking to buy my first track saw. Which one should I get? Should I get a TS75 or a TS55? Well, that's a very common question. And the simple answer is, what are you going to use it for? The majority of the time. Okay? The depth of cut of here is 1 inch and 15/16, 50 millimeter. Okay? And the depth of cut on this is 2 3/4, 70 millimeter. It's called a TS75 and 55 because the thickness of the rail, including the PFTE strip on the guide rail, is 5 millimeter. All right, so that's important because everybody they'll take their dial caliper and they'll put it on there and go, no, it's actually 3 millimeter, but there's that slight crown that it rides on. Okay, so it's a 5 millimeter. So what is, and by the way, I've always called that a common thread. Anybody here have a domino? I asked them before. A lot of them have dominoes. We have preferred customer audience. What bit comes on the domino? 500 installed. 5 millimeter, right? What is the size of the hex key that's included with the track saws to change the blade? 5 millimeter, okay? What is the thickness of the guide rail? Common thread. What is my IQ? Hey, try the veal. I'm here all week. Okay, so the saw sits on the rail, correct? So your depth of cut, subtract 5 on it. A lot of people think it's the length of the rail that comes with it. It's not. It's the depth of cut. So your depth of cut with this, 2 3/4, 70 millimeter. Okay, so a lot of people, and I'm going to bring this around to the domino in a few minutes. Is anybody doing any waterfall slabs? A lot of people, 45 miter fold, a lot of people will say, oh, I need the Domino XL for that. Oh, you can use the Domino 500. It's more than enough. You're just bringing the miter together, right, to waterfall. So a lot of people will say, oh, I need the 70. The big thing now with 75s is people doing waterfall. But this has, full circle, 50 millimeter depth of cut. You can cut 6/4 all the way up to just about 8/4 with it. So, anybody here have a track saw? What do you build the majority of the time with it? Cabinetry, right? Your choice, boxes. I heard that, Big D. Boxes. So your 55 is the choice. So hopefully I made that clear because that's a top question. The other top question I have, get rid of the 75. Should I go cord or cordless? Anybody have a cordless track saw? Yeah, now you're talking. Boy, you guys are getting your calisthenics raising hands, right? Wait a minute, the guys and gals who raise their hands that have a cordless Festool track saw, do you have a corded track saw as well? Yeah, preferred customer. Okay. My question is always this, and this was in a previous episode when I was talking about the TSC 55, is, are you out to the job site or are you around power all the time? Get the TS55 for the shop. Okay, F. And that's what I use the majority of the time. And I'm going to tell you right now, I'm lying. We just came out with this new one, okay, that has what? The 1.8 millimeter kerf. That was the new design on this. It's the same TS55, but it's got a new riving knife, which is 1.8 millimeter. We released this one first. And that in my shop back in Indiana, I was using that the majority of the time, even though I had power, because of the thinness of the blade. It's absolutely amazing. The quality cut is still there. Okay, so that's a big question. Should I go cord or cordless? Now, let's talk about that because we are making a big push into the cordless market with Festool. So you can decide on that, making another decision. Hey, I can get some more batteries and stuff like that. So we're going to come out with a lot of cordless going forward, and you'll be pretty impressed with that. So This is for back home. How many people want to know about all the new cordless coming out in the next 5 years? I can't say anything. Okay, good. All right. How many of you have this long rail? Really? That's really cool. Do you know what we get as a question back all the time? Or a concern? And this is when I was designing what I was going to teach all of you today, I was really excited about this, okay? I'm going to also show you how to connect rails properly, okay? But this is, these are hard to ship, and a lot of people think they come in bowed. It's not the rail. By the way, that's me. I was getting an imperfect cut on 6/4 Mapele. Do you know what Mapele is? French maple. I go also sharp at Target. Okay, never mind. Mapele. How do you spell that? I had a buddy at work once said, how do you spell that? I go, M. And he was writing it down, M-A-P-L-E. He looked at me and he started chasing me around the warehouse. He goes, ah. Okay. Mapele. Never mind. Okay. We get calls all the time. I have a bent rail. It's not. Let me show you, oh, this sounds so funny, how I overcame this. So I'm going to take the long rail, I'm going to put it on here. And as I do some of this, I'll call out my setup. You guys, gals, do you know what this is? It's a limit stop. It's for plunge cutting. It limits the saw from lifting. But I was taught this by one of you. I use a limit stop because this is a 6mm offset from here. I just take it like this, and that's because you know on a piece of plywood that you get from the factory, it's never straight. So I just go like this, and that gives me my offset, just like that. That's what I use it for majority of the time. How am I going to cut this today? Hey, let's go with what? Let's go with some power. So you know, you put these cams on there. Everybody wants to know what's the technique. There's no technique. You tighten it all the way so it doesn't move, and then you slowly back them off. You take the resistance off, and I just do like this, so now I have a forward motion, and that's really smooth. I take the window, I put it down, let's get some power. Let's see if I'm hooked up. Good. Do you guys like the new fitting? It's really nice, right? Cool. I always take it off to put it on because I see people struggle trying to get it on. I always take it off. And then I put it on, and I take it like this. Now, this is what I want to show you. When we come down here, Chris, get this on video. See how the splinter guard is not cut all the way? Okay. Common question. Okay, and right here, well, somebody cut this rail. It's not mine. Okay. There's two things that I want to teach you. How many people cut like this? Guess what you're doing? There's deflection in this rail. You'll get a bow in the middle. And that's what I was getting with a 75. I'm broad-shouldered. What I do is I'm just going to set the depth. It's already set. I always start and check to see that right there. Nothing will happen if I start here because I want those cams both on this rib. If I don't have that on the rib, look, there's movement here. I've lost all my accuracy. And I see so many people that want to cut this splinter guard the whole way. No. I'm going to take this, I'm going to shimmy it back here. Okay? I'm going to reach for my limit stop. Woohoo! Yes, sir. Take it like this. Okay? I want those cams always engaged. I'm going to come back here and check to see if that will be engaged. Perfect. When I finish my cut. So I'm going to take it back here. The other thing, I have my depth set. Watch. See how I take that down first? There's no power that I've engaged. I'm going to check to see if that blade is forward of this. Nothing would happen with this plywood because the grain goes like this in the different layers, right? But boy, oh boy, when you go into a stick of 6/4 cherry, mahogany, or whatever, and you start it right here, has anybody had it kick on them before? Huh? Boy, how many people have nicks? It's a rite of passage because of that in their rail. Okay, so I got to ask you guys a question. What's the first thing you did when it kicked on you? What'd you do? I looked around to see if anybody saw me. Anybody ever fall off a ladder? What's the first thing you do? You look around to see if anybody saw you, right? Okay, crawl in. Are you looking out of the bushes and stuff? Whatever. Okay, never mind. So, I also learned this from my friend Alan. I know Alan's taught here before. I wrap that cord and hose around my arm. Gets it out of the way. I check to see. Okay, now notice where my hand is and my arm. Oh, sorry, arm. See how I'm pushing behind? I don't have clamps on this, okay? I'm pushing from behind. Okay, now, you see this? That's basically the center of the blade. I bring it up like that at full speed. Okay, because sometimes on this board, right here, you'll have a little saw blade mark. It's because A, you might have left it down, or 2, you didn't go fully past it. So I see a few nods in the audience, and by the way, welcome to the club. I woke up in the middle of the night. A very close friend of mine, his name is Brian. Him and I were building a maple table for his home at Festool. I was using a 75. I was clamping it, but I was cutting like this. And there is, look at it, it's a 3,000 millimeter rail. Of course it's gonna be a little deflection. And I was pushing it like this. I came in and I clamped it again, and I should have known this. I was taught to use a hand saw with 3 fingers in the toe, aiming it like this and keeping it in line. It helps you cut at a 90 degree. That's how I hold the Capex, the track saws now, and I've always got a very accurate cut. So hopefully that made sense. Good. Push from behind. Good. How are we doing on time, kids? Good. All right. Wow. Time flies. You guys want to see something cool? I love doing this. This is my Vegas magic act. I haven't done it in a long time. Let me see if I can do this properly. Okay, here's the bag. Anybody ever use the bag on the cordless track saw? I'm gonna empty that out. Look inside. I have an audience. Woo! Look inside. Ow! Nothing inside. Let's check, let's verify that. I'm not, follow me, Chris, I'm not switching it out. All right, this is an 8-footer. I'm gonna put this on here. Get it on here like this. Double check, I did that yesterday. I got a Bluetooth battery on here. We put a Bluetooth module on here. So, okay. You guys wanna hear a good one? Yesterday, I was setting this up and I was going like this. And I stood there for 30 seconds. I was like, and you know what I did? I looked around if anybody saw me. Oh my God, and guess what? He saw me. Okay, so we all verified there was nothing in the bag, right? This has that 1.8 millimeter blade. That's why I was using this before we switched to the new corded version to the 1.8 millimeter. Does anybody have Bluetooth on there? It's absolutely amazing. That was one I had to figure out why I would need it, and boy, it's unreal. You see how it worked on here when I was using the bag? Okay, check this out. This is one pass. One pass. That's why a dust extractor is so needed. It's a top question. I'm buying a track saw for the first time. Do I need dust extraction? Yes. I saw this in Germany. I went, oh no, a bag. And then I saw that, and I went, awesome, a bag that actually works. So I wanted to point that out today. So we started out and we did orbitals, I think, first, and that's your vibrating sanders. You know, we have several of them in the Festool lineup and even some cordless. And then we talked about this, which is an orbital sander, but with a counterweight, it's spinning a round pad, and we call that random orbit, or RO sander, air, they're DA sanders, okay? Now, when I talk about the Rotex, this is one of the most difficult things over the years I've had to describe to people. And today, maybe you get it, maybe you won't. But the thing you gotta do is you gotta try one. Because once you use it, you go, oh my God, now I get it. So, a Rotex in one mode is giving you the random orbit. But when you flip a switch, what you'll see between the three of them, we drop a pin in there, and what that does is that gives you a geared random orbit sanding pattern. In other words, you better hold on, because this is an extremely aggressive orbit. So when a random orbit sander, whether Festool brand or any brand, when you put a lot of pressure on there, what do? You stall the pad, don't you, for the rotation. With a Rotex sander, I could stand on it and I would go for a spin, because there's a gearing to it now. So hopefully you'll understand this, and I'm going to step one by one through them. I'll go over you a brief overview of each one. I got all kinds of notes written, so I'll try not to not cover something, but there's always sometimes I make a misstep or whatever and I forget to say something, so bear with me. I don't want to make it too long a Festool Live, but I want to go through each one so you have a thorough understanding of a Rotex and some of the key features of each one. There's the RO90, the RO125, and the RO150. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to flip this over. Remember, Chris, don't get those notes on there. Okay, because everybody thinks I'm kind of smart and I remember all of this, but I got a little script over here. Don't show it. Okay, good. So let's start with the RO90. Now, oh boy, this is tough, because when we first came out with this, I remember when this was released, someone said, oh, this is the one sander that's a one-all beat-all sander. And I would always ask, well, what are you going to use it for? Because automatically people see, oh, there's a detail pad for it. And you've got 3 different orbits. You have Rotex. Always remember, the bigger dots on the sanders that's the Rotex mode. The finer dots, or the smaller dots, that's random orbit. And everybody thinks just because you put it in triangle mode, it's just for the detail head. I'll show you that in a moment. But also, it becomes an orbital sander. But here's why I have, and I talked a little about this in former episodes when I was talking 5-inch versus 6-inch. So 125 is the 5-inch, the 6-inch is 150. Roughly 25 millimeters equals an inch. 25 into 150 is 6. 25 into 125 is 5. So there you go. There's a little bit of math for you. But the RO90 is basically a 3.5-inch pad. It's a 90 millimeter in diameter. So remember what I said when I was talking about 5-inch versus 6-inch? It's 32%. It's not an inch. It's 32.5% more pad area. That makes a huge difference. If you don't like the sand, get the bigger sander. But it's all about application specific is your choice when you go for each one. Now, if you look here, you'll see here's your 90 and here's your 150 paper. I did this. It looks like a spirograph, but it is, when I was told, it's 330% more pad size. So when somebody says, oh, I'm going to get one sander, a Rotex sander, I'll go with a with the RO90 because there's a detail pad. That's not the right way to see it. It is more for small surfaces, okay? Because if you're sanding big panels, like for cabinetry or tabletops, you're gonna be sanding forever. It's a very small pad. That's why you go with a 6-inch. Hopefully you'll understand that. Okay, so I'm gonna hook it up really quick so you can understand this. I get this old wooden window frame window. And what I want to do is I want to show you the different modes here of the Rotex. So when I put it on here, that's random orbit. See it? and I get your basic random orbit pattern, okay? But I'm going to remove this paint here, all right? The big surfaces, can you get it? The big surfaces, I'll get right in here, okay? But when I need to get detail, I'll take it. Look, I don't have to go grab another sander. I just rotate it like this. I spin it off. And check this out. Now I can get all those details. And you see how it's just an orbital pattern now? So now I can get all those details and remove that paint. Or if I'm just scuffing it up, to get a cloth for some more. Now the thing to remember on this detail pad, which a lot of people don't know, is of course I'm going to use it toward that point, right? And I'll just do this. I'll draw this like this. So all of this abrasive here on this granite paper is going to wear quicker, right? Because I'm getting up on the point. We make the paper equilateral like this. So now that abrasive there's fresh, and as that wears down, I'm not going to use this point, I'm going to switch it around and I'll use that. So now, if we check it out, I'll be using all of that abrasive so I can maximize the abrasive. And with granite, it doesn't load as much. This is a wonder paper. Now there's another caveat to this. Because you put a lot of pressure up on that point to get in those corners, all right, and get all those details, what happens is over time, that pad right here, all those little stick fix hooks right there start to wear out. You can probably see those. Those are starting to wear right there. This is an older pad. So what we did is there's a little snap here, and you'll see it. I can pull it off, and now I can rotate the pad. So now these hooks are fresh, and you maximize the length of using the pad. So your paper doesn't slip on there, so you can get killer removal or get in those corners like in a cabinet or something. Now the other thing to remember, you can get replacements of the pad too, and they come in a 2-pack. Okay, good. Hopefully you understand that. And like all Rotex sanders, I'm going to switch it back. You can polish with it. That's your hard backing pad. The pad that comes with it it's black here, and there's also a hard pad. I use the hard pad quite a bit. It allows me to, I can concentrate, and I think I showed this to you before in an episode, but I like using a hard pad when I'm sanding face frames because I can maintain, see that right there? There's not a lot of pad to catch on these edges, and I can keep this nice and crisp, and that's why I like using the hard pad, right? All Rotex sanders come with what is known as a protector. And you see the groove right here? That slides right on, just like that. And that allows you, oh look, I can use it in orbital if I want, but I'm going to put it back to Rotex. Because if I'm sanding up against an adjacent surface, you kind of nurse it a little, okay? Because you don't want to hurt the pad or anything. Guess what? I can take that right up against there, and it acts like a bearing right up against that surface, and I can get within 1/8 of an inch right up against there. So there you go. That's what a protector does. It protects the paper and the pad. Whew. Now I showed you this and lost in a catalog. We call this our window protection kit. And if I have a bead of caulking right here, depending on the width of the caulking, I can have a standoff on each one. So this is the normal standoff with the protector. If I take a large one and slide it right on there, that's my standoff. So you don't cut into that caulking. That's what a window protection kit is. Whew. And then there's another pad. And I think I showed this and lost in the catalog once. This is the extension pad. It goes right on here. I'm going to slip it off. And this is perfect for sanding what? Shutters, louvers. And I can take that and look, I can get right in there like this. And I can prep that for a coat of paint. Super quick, or a coat of prime. Okay, I'm dropping everything. Next. Whoop, 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 whoop. So that's the RO90. Application specific. Is it a must sander? Absolutely. Now, here's where we come into a little bit of fun, as I always say, because if I have a 6-inch Rotex, why do I need the 5? Or I'm trying to decide between the 5 and the 6. And the reasoning is, it's all about, I'll always say this, application. Okay, so hear me out. We're doing good on time? Good. I was hard pressed to recommend the 5-inch Rotex until I was on a job site and I was sanding clapboard siding up in I think it was Vermont or New Hampshire. And we were sanding, and I put on the protector. I'm going to put on the protector just like the regular, just like the Rotex RO 90 and 125. Okay, and I was sanding up against there. And I want you to come in here so you can see this. Chris, come over here. The pad is overlapping. You see that? So as I have it in Rotex and I was removing paint, and I think you can see it on the floor. Because I had pad overlap, I was getting a lot of chafe. My dust extraction wasn't as great as I thought it would be. So what I did is I switched to the 5-inch. And this is why I say this is really application specific. Especially, I've used this on risers for staircases. That pad fits perfect in there. And I have it with a protector, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. I'm going to put this on here. I'm going to lock it in. I'm going to put it in Rotex, big dots. It's just a flip of a switch. That's your on and off. And you're going to see, well, I can see it really good. I don't see any chafe coming down. See how the pad fits perfect on there? So it's really application specific what you're going to use the 5 and the 6 for. I just want to point out you can get you can polish with it. I don't have the green pad. Your green pad is for polishing. Hard pad is the blue one. And also that's your super soft pad. And you can polish with it. Also the interface pad. I've covered that before for contours. All right, so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna show you on the RO 150, and here's one of those questions we get in customer service, in repair, all the time, is removing the pad. The button for the RO 125, I can't push it in. And I don't think you can see it, there's a little arrow on there. You have to push it like this and lock it in. Now, by doing that, I'm gonna take the pad off, right? It doesn't come off. It has to be in Rotex mode because that's the pin that drops in that locks the shaft. Okay, and now it's geared and you can spin that off and you can switch pads. So once again, Rotex mode to remove pads. Whew. The guys in repair are really happy I'm saying that right now. Hey. I thought we told him to silence all the phones in the room.
You're ruining the movie for him.
What a rookie. Okay, good. Yeah, he's good at sales. He's really good at sales, so we'll let him stay. All right. Whew. Now comes, for me, the one-all beat-all, because you have maximum diameter, the most sanding pad possible, so you're going to get to that final finish quicker because you have more surface area on the pad, hence abrasive as well. Now, I'm going to remove the guard. Yes, it comes with a protector, but it also, you can also get this. I think I covered this in one of the Lost in the Catalogs, right? I call it, Chris? The Abraham Lincoln. Okay, good. So I'm I've only said that about 4,000 times. You know what I call it? Self-entertainment. Okay, so you can put it on here like this. It's a great way to hold the Rotex. Remember, when you hold a Rotex, all your controls are up here. I like to hold it here and I like to balance it back here. That way there, the pad stays flat. I see a lot of people holding like this. You can, it's your sander, but be aware to keep the pad flat. If not, it starts to jump on you. All of the Rotex do. Keep the pad flat. This just pretty much stabilizes it the best for me. I hold it back here so the pad is a pad, not a what? Wheel. Okay. Fine dots, random orbit. Big dots, Rotex. To change the pad, it's got to be in what? Rotex. So here's your fast fix button. There's arrows pointing up, so you push it up and in. I like to hold it right here, and that's how you spin it off. It's super quick. Yes, we have the backing pad. We showed it in the polishing videos. Yes, it's super soft. We have one that's super soft. We have, that's your standard, the black, and blue is hard, and we have the interface pads. I'm gonna put this back on. This is just your standard pad. Slide it on, it's ready to rock and roll. Now, I had somebody come up to me once and say, Sedge, I think I gotta send it in for repair. You see this right here? Chris, come in here so you can see this. Where my dust shroud is, there's a break right there. And I went, see that little green part right there? I went, that part there? He goes, I had no idea that's removable. It is, and what it's for is, it gets in the way sometimes when you're polishing, so we wanted to make sure it was removable. You don't need dust extraction when you're polishing. So there you go.